I was such a big fan of the original Kingdom Come Deliverance. I felt like I was one of the only people in the whole world that had ever played it, and I loved it so much that it almost made it into my top 10 games of all time. Yet, despite my overwhelmingly positive experience, this game was still very difficult to recommend to other people. You see this game here? Well, it's actually one of my favorite games of all time. It's just, if you ignore the copious amounts of bugs and glitches, don't worry about the combat. It'll get easier, I promise, after around 40 hours. And to this day, I still don't know another single soul who has played it. It obviously sold well enough that Warhorse Studios decided to release Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 a year ago today. It was honestly one of my most anticipated games of all time. But I was far too busy playing The Sopranos Road to Respect for this goddamn YouTube channel. But I have finally decided to be selfish and start reviewing games that I want to play, and so after almost 100 hours of gameplay, here is my review for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. KCD2 is not your typical RPG, and honestly, I'd be lying if I said that everyone should play it. In a day and age where most people have the attention span of a potato, no offense to any potatoes that may be watching, of course, but KCD2 says, to hell with all of that. I want to give players the most authentic middle-age experience ever, and obviously it delivers on that in abundance. Things move slowly. You will rarely fight more than 2 or 3 enemies at a time. You can go hours without any combat at all. A solid 10 hours of gameplay will be committed to forging weapons and brewing potions manually, and playing dice is considered a thrill in this day and age. You see this deer right here? I haven't killed a single deer in my whole 100-hour playthrough because poaching in this world is illegal, and I don't need that kind of heat, man. I'm a good citizen.
A dangerous madman, a brawler, and a thug, the worst of all, a poacher.
When you think of typical RPGs, you think of mythical creatures, dragons, trolls, sexy, powerful women, sexy, powerful men. And in KCD2, you get this. I mean, Henry's glow up between KCD and KCD2 needs to be studied, because this man, for some reason, he's become attractive. He's become attractive to me. I'm attracted to him. A game where the only enemies are some wolves and regular ass humans doesn't exactly scream RPG to me. As a matter of fact, if I was to tell you that the 2 main enemies in this game was hunger and how good your personal hygiene was, you would have thought I was talking about a dating simulator.
What's the matter? Females!
And my point is, while these gameplay mechanics are things that I might enjoy, it's not something that everyone will. This game is made for more with people with autism and not people with ADHD. That's probably pretty offensive. I apologize in advance. What I mean by that is you need to have laser focus when playing this game. You can't just be checking your phone during cutscenes or during dialogue, because then you will miss out on one of the things that makes this game so great, and that's the story. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 delivers a script so large that it puts most RPGs to shame. 2.2 million words, which if true makes it the largest script ever. There are side missions with more dialogue than the whole of the Diablo franchise.
Now you should give Yasak a chance. You're not getting any younger, you know. And just between you and me, your breath smells like a horse's arsehole.
What?
And even I admit that in some RPGs, I skip a lot of the dialogue, especially the side mission stuff. But in KCD 2, I was completely focused on every one of those 2.2 million words. Each line is delivered with expertise. It's so rare that in a game, especially one of this size, that each voice actor completely nails their role. It helps bring this amazing world to life, and honestly, it should be the benchmark going forward. Now, if you've never played the first game, or you have early onset dementia like I do, then don't fear, because you don't need to have played the first to play the second. It's strange when a sequel of a game takes place mere days after the original. This is how KCD 1 ends, and this is how KCD 2 starts. It's the same horse ride. A lot happened in the first game, a lot of very important things, but KCD 2 does an amazing job of explaining it all through like these fever dreams of Henry talking to his father, or naturally through dialogue, and with names like Otto von Bergau, Markov van Alwitz, Zizishka, Sigismund, all these names start to blend together. So unless you want to be confused like an old person holding a smartphone, you will need to pay attention. And the story starts with Henry and Capon being tasked to deliver a letter to von Bergau, mate. Basically trying to start an alliance between the houses, but unfortunately for our duo, they are ambushed. And what's even worse is their whole entourage is killed, and Henry is shot with an arrow to the shoulder, and they barely escape with their lives. You just know this isn't a typical RPG when the characters are saved by this old lady here instead of some beautiful, sexy young lass.
Mother?
I ate your ma, laddie.
But with the help of this herbalist, Henry and Capon are healed and continue on their journey to try to deliver the message to von Bergau. And because of what they're wearing, and they probably also smell like pig feces, they don't exactly convince the guard that this was in fact their mission, and unfortunately that leads to this. No money, covered in shit, and weeks ride away from home, Henry and Capon essentially have to start again. And this is where the story begins, and how Warhorse cleverly explain how Henry has essentially been reset with his skills. And the story is so interesting to me because it does make you wonder that if you were suddenly sent back to medieval times, what would you do to make money? Would you break the law? Would you steal? Would you kill people? Would you become a bandit? Or would you do what I did and, take on side missions and become a blacksmith's apprentice?
That's impossible. Such balance. I'm sorry, Matthias, but his sword is better.
What? In games like Skyrim, we are the Dragonborn, we are the hero, but in KCD 2, we are just some regular dude. And again, I'm keeping this video spoiler free, but from here the game takes many twists and turns. You start off accepting any job you can, and end up working your way up once again, making heaps of new allies along the way, enjoying smaller stories like a serial killer on the loose in the city, as well as being part of full-scale wars. And somehow Henry ends up making his way through, or does he? Again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but because the game is so realistic, it makes me question how would I tackle these situations if I was Henry? And be fully prepared to have your actions judged, because for whatever reason, your dead parents give you a massive guilt trip at the end of the game, reminding you of all the bad deeds you have done. Thanks, Warhorse, for the lecture. You aren't my father.
I will not sell you the rights to my mines. Not today, not tomorrow, nor in 100 years.
It's a solid story led by an amazing cast of characters, all of which are unique from one another. It sort of reminds me of like the Ocean's 11 movies, where every character is individual and the reason why you watch those movies. From the main story all the way to every side mission, no matter how small and meaningless, was top tier. It's also very rare, like I don't even know another single game that has made me laugh as many times as KCD2 has. Somehow the story manages to be dark, deep, hilarious, and serious all at the same time.
Oh God! What am I supposed to do? I want to go back!
And if you are a history buff, this is a fantastic way to get a first-hand experience of what it was like living back in 1403. The only issue with the story is that towards the end of it, a lot of the missions start to seem too easy and a bit far-fetched. On a game that prides itself on being so realistic, the characters just find themselves in these sort of unrealistic and impossible circumstances. But what makes the mission so fun to play through is the freedom to decide how to play through them. My Henry was a bit of a wuss and would always try to talk his way out of situations and get people to help him instead of just fighting them and killing them. If you needed to get an item from someone, just say, you could convince them to give it to you if your speech and charisma skills were high enough. Or you could simply kill them or knock them out. Or you could wait until nighttime and steal it from them without them ever knowing.
You want to argue with Peter of Pisek's armed men? They're already on their way.
As you wish, he's all yours.
It's this type of gameplay that lets you customize your own experience, and honestly, is a massive reason as to why many people do multiple playthroughs of this game. Sadly, I'm not exactly the most patient gamer at times, and even I, on occasion, perfect me, would take the easy way out and just assassinate somebody and steal the key from them instead of trying to convince them, you know? But it was nice that with 90% of the missions that I could play those missions the exact way that I wanted to play them.
I met your brother, and when he realised I knew everything, he ran off to the bailiff himself, rather than face me. And you ought to do the same. I've chewed up and spat out the likes of you more than once.
People that dress in ugly clothes or smell disgusting or walk into your house uninvited will get scolded at. I should know that that's realistic because I smell all the time. And this is where the game feels the most realistic. People that dress nicer, smell nicer, and generally act more polite get responded to in a nicer way. People will react to you if you are covered in blood and be less willing to help. Even if you are the most stealthy character, if you smell too bad, they will be able to smell you when you get close to them. And the story shows you this firsthand. As I mentioned before, Henry and Hans are mistaken for poor people because of their clothes and how they look. But this isn't just a story plot, it's an actual gameplay mechanic. There are missions that you can't even start unless your clothes are of a certain quality. You can't convince someone you are a noble even if you have max charisma if you are dressed like a commoner. The story doesn't just take place in cutscenes and dialogue, but it also takes place in how Henry presents himself. I would love to do a whole playthrough of Henry just being a stinky, smelly, dirty man and see how it all unfolds.
You behave like a spoilt brat. How dare you speak...
The game takes place in the Kingdom of Bohemia, then part of the lands of the Bohemian Crown and the Holy Empire in what is now known as the Czech Republic, I think. That's what Wikipedia said. I saw a review of obviously a larger creator who was invited by Warhorse Studios to Prague to visit one of the in-game locations which is still standing to this day. That's so cool. Now obviously the map isn't 100% to scale. A 3-minute walk in the game is probably more like 20 minutes in real life, but I did see an interview that at one stage the developers considered to make the map smaller, but they said, hell to that. We don't want this game to feel arcadey, we want it to feel real. I don't care what the players think. They can take a long time to walk from town to town. Let's make it authentic. It probably would have made things a little easier and quicker, especially in hardcore mode where there are no map markers, but they went for that more authentic feel over what gamers have typically liked in the past. And the level of detail in KCD2 is unlike anything I've ever seen before, honestly. Each town feels like a real living place, and the citizens walk around with purpose, even visiting the local tavern at night. They all have a place to sleep, even returning their clothes to a chest at the end of the day and getting dressed in the morning. Even the wilderness feels like every inch of it was handcrafted and not just copied and pasted like other games do. Each pathway, each flower or stream feels intentional, and it all helps sell the story and makes it feel like we are really there. And be prepared to be constantly distracted by interesting locations or new missions when riding from town to town. Even when using the fast travel option, you aren't immune to bandits blocking the road or an NPC wanting to talk to you to see if you can buy their goods or send you on a mission. It gives you this sense of feeling that you're playing a game like Dungeons and Dragons. Like 80 or 90% of the buildings can be entered, and if the residents catch you in there, they'll tell you to leave, and if you don't leave, they'll call the guards on you. Once again, I was a goody two-shoes, but I've even seen that if you continue to break the law, you will get branded and eventually hung. Look, the story and the world is amazing, but it would be nothing without the incredible gameplay to back it up. A problem a lot of people had with the original, and I think people will have the same issue with KCD2, is the combat. It's essentially two buttons, attack and block, and using the thumbsticks to determine which direction you will attack from. Attack from above and you will swing downwards, attack from below and you will stab, and so on. You will learn new combos and even a parry and the very overpowered Master Strike, but these won't happen naturally. You will actively need to find someone to teach you these moves. If you and an enemy attack each other from the same direction, it's easy to parry one another. If you sort of just play more defensive and let an enemy attack you over and over, they will lose their stamina. If you get desperate and continue to attack without stopping, you will lose all of your stamina, leaving you extremely vulnerable. As you fight more, your level with that weapon will increase, and so will your timing in real life. You will learn how to counter enemies easier. If you are overwhelmed by more than one enemy, you will learn how to position yourself better to make it more of a fair fight. In most games, it feels like you get stronger because your character gets stronger, but in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it felt like Henry was getting better because I was getting more practice in. There was even a moment in the game where I was in a proper duel, and I was forced to use two weapons I had never used before, and I ended up losing because I had no idea how to use them. I didn't know the timing of the blocks, and I didn't know how slow it was to use my weapon, and that wasn't Henry's fault, it was mine.
You've got you
Who's next, eh?
There are still perks you will get as you level up specific skills. Like if you use your dog Mutt and keep him happy by feeding him, you will be able to unlock skills like Charming Companion that increases your charisma if Mutt is around. Or if you take the time to read books or ask questions about history, your scholarship level will increase. And one of the perks you can get, for example, with scholarship leveling is your bandages become more effective. The game sort of just assumes that at some stage you've read a book about healing. It's honestly so satisfying when you see your skills leveling in real time. That pop-up in the top right corner it's like a drug. If that happened in real life, I'd be so fit and smart as hell. The game also doesn't hold your hand. A large portion of the gameplay mechanics are never explained. It's up to you to go out and find that information. I was lucky enough to have some experience with Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, so I knew what happens when you eat expired food. But I guarantee you, a large portion of the new players would have got food poisoning at one stage or another. I have also never seen armor impact combat in such an obvious way before. Enemies without any armor whatsoever die in like 2 or 3 hits. But if they are wearing a helmet and you hit them in the head, at times it seems like you're barely affecting them. And the armor Henry wears is also very important. I had 2 main outfits that I would switch between, and if I was in combat and in the outfit without the helmet, I had to be extra cautious about defending my head, because 1 or 2 hits to the head and I would be dead. Combat is hard. Switching between your sword to a bow takes a long time. Enemies won't just stand around and wait for you to shoot an arrow at them, they will charge you. And you can't just drink a health potion mid-battle, because that would take time to do, and it just goes to show how unrealistic most games are. And sort of, I think Warhorse's approach was, hey, let's make this less fun and more realistic, and it just happens to be better this way.
Right on the money! Hey! Scumbag!
The ancient style of gun takes like 20 seconds to shoot 1 shot. Crossbows are awful to use in 99% of circumstances. It's frustrating, but also hilarious when you miss with these weapons.
No, arsehole!
I would always feel so embarrassed when a arrow or a crossbow bolt would miss the enemy by like 1 inch. I always got like second-hand embarrassment. It was awkward. And again, this type of combat isn't for everyone. Some people just like to be able to roll out of the way of every attack and chug 100 potions every fight, and that's okay if that's what you're like. But for those of you who are willing to put those gameplay mechanics aside, you will find Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 very rewarding. There is no greater feeling than killing like 4 enemies at once, being an inch away from death, bandaging your wounds up, calling your horse over, and filling it up with loot from your fallen foes.
Yes. I had no idea you were I mean, you killed them. Practically single-handedly.
Every battle requires a decent amount of concentration, and bigger battles require preparation. Health potions aren't easy to come by, especially in like the first 60% of the game where money is tight. Enemies rarely drop health potions, vendors only carry like 1 or 2 of them at a time, and honestly, unless you're willing to spend an hour brewing them at an alchemy station, you're always going to find that you barely have any health potions on you at any given time.
Not good at all. That'll be those old herbs.
There is so much loot in this game. Everything has value if you can be bothered finding a shop owner to buy it. And there's a surprisingly large amount of different armor, clothes, and weapons. And the strongest suit of armor isn't always the best option, especially if it means that you're more noisy. Chainmail, when you sneak, it's loud, right? It's loud. So you don't want to wear it at nighttime if you're trying to rob people. It's realistic. I love it. Look, I don't like my videos to go for too long, more editing, but this game has so much going on, and not in an overwhelming way. You could honestly choose to ignore 90% of the gameplay mechanics and still have a wonderful time. You might only use your blacksmithing ability once or twice in the whole game, or if you wish, you can use it as a main source of income. You can pay a blacksmith to repair your armor, or you can do it yourself. You can brew every potion you will ever need, or you can go to a shop and buy them. You can stealth your way into an enemy camp at night and kill every enemy while they sleep. Or you can charge in and slaughter them all in battle. Or if you aren't bad at games like me, you can use a bow and arrow to take them all out. I think in the 100 hours of gameplay, I took out like 6 enemies with a bow. I'm really that bad with it, honestly. And really, this is the ultimate way to describe this game. If you are after an RPG that will make you take a step back and think, hey, how can I approach this mission? or how would my version of Henry respond to this, then this is the game for you. A thought-provocative, real RPG experience that is truly one of a kind. If I had to score Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 out of 10, honestly, it would be a 10 out of 10. You will still experience some of that janky mess that you would expect from most RPGs like this. But on a game that's to this scale, it's barely noticeable. It's very rare that I get to the end of a review and I think of like another 40 things that I could say about this game, but look, I'll just leave that up to you to discover or rediscover if you plan to play through it again in the future. I might have to reconsider my top 10 of all time. It might actually slip in there, honestly. Alright, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. It helps. Until next time, see ya.